last year, I published a full-page ad in the Yale Daily News, whose headline read, "The Palestinian case against Israel is based on a genocidal lie." The genocidal lie is the claim that all of Israel, or any of Israel, is occupied Arab land. It is a claim used to justify all of the murderous acts committed against the Jews of Israel. In fact, Israel was created out of the ruins of the Turkish Empire, as were Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. The Turks are not Arabs, and Israel does not occupy any Arab land. It's not about land or a Palestinian state. It is a 60-year war of aggression, first by the Arab League and then by Sunni and Shiite Muslims to destroy the Jewish state and push the Jews into the sea. This war is now a religious war. It is an expression of Islamic Nazism. To be perfectly clear, not that people in this room will misquote me, I am not referring to all Muslims as Nazis. I am referring to the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamic forces now ascendant in Egypt and the Middle East who are actively promoting a second genocide of the Jews, along with their supporters in America and their secular allies on the political left. When my ad about the Palestinian lie appeared in the Yale paper, the Slifka Center, the focus of Jewish life on campus, was outraged. They were not outraged by the Palestinian lie, but by my ad, which told the truth. They were outraged because the truth offended the Muslim Students Association, with whom they wished to be friends. To counter my ad, the Slifka Center published its own full-page statement. It affirmed the Slifka Center's respect, and I quote their words, for the Muslim Students Association, which does not spread hateful lies about Israel. The Slifka statement then attacked my ad as the purveyor of hateful ideas, which it said would lead to tragic rifts between the Jewish and Muslim communities. As though campuses across the country were not already reverberating to the chants of Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, or as though Muslim masses were not already chanting death to Israel at the call of Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Having made its commitments clear, the Slifka ad then invited students to an evening with the Ground Zero Mosque Imam Faisal Abdel Rauf, hosted by Slifka Center Director James Panay, the celebrity rabbi who officiated at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. The suicidal tendencies of the intended victims of Islamic supremacy are tragically familiar. They recall the sad delusions of members of the Judenrat, the Jewish councils in the Nazi ghettos, who organized the Jews for Hitler's death camps while pretending to themselves that the Germans were too civilized to kill them. Delusions about Islamic Nazis are hardly confined to Jews, however. In the eyes of the Islamic fanatics, Israel may be the little Satan, but America is the great Satan, the arch-demon that must be destroyed in the name of Allah. In his fatwas, Osama bin Laden identified Islam's enemies as Jews and Crusaders, America being Christian, and therefore the Crusader nation. Every Islamist leader and organization, from Ahmadinejad to Qaradawi, from the Muslim Brotherhood to Hezbollah and Hamas, has promised death to Israel and America as the necessary means to their malignant ends. Meanwhile, the Crusaders, like the Jews, are asleep. It is an old story. Just before the Second World War, Whittaker Chambers, a communist defector, attempted to warn President Roosevelt that a White House advisor named Alger Hiss was a Soviet agent and that his administration had been penetrated by communist operatives. When Roosevelt was informed of Chambers' charges, he laughed and dismissed them. Hiss then accompanied Roosevelt to Yalta, where he helped to conclude the deal that delivered Eastern Europe to the Soviet Empire and triggered the Cold War. Here is a story that may prove worse than that of Alger Hiss. In a series of foreign policy disasters, the Obama administration has assisted the Muslim Brotherhood in transforming the Arab Spring in the Middle East into an Islamist winter, beginning with the toppling of an allied regime in Egypt and the accession to power of the Muslim Brotherhood and its expansion throughout the region. In August, the new Egyptian president sacked his military commanders, abrogated the constitution, and assumed dictatorial powers greater than those possessed by his predecessor, transforming Egypt into an Islamist state. Opponents of the dictatorship were crucified, literally nailed to crosses in front of the government headquarters. It was the Brotherhood's way of dramatizing its intentions to turn Egypt into a medieval totalitarian state. This was exactly what the American State Department had assured the world the Muslim Brotherhood would not do, as it paved the way for the Brotherhood's accession to power. The intelligence chief of the Obama White House had officially described the Brotherhood as a moderate and secular organization which had embraced democratic and constitutional government. The betrayal of these promises and the violation of every principle the American government claimed to be supporting in the Middle East's most important state took place without a word of protest from the American government or the American Secretary of State. As it happens, the chief advisor on Muslim affairs to the American Secretary of State is Huma Abedin, one of whose mentors was the Nazi imam Yusuf al-Qaradawi. Abedin is an operative for the Muslim Brotherhood and a lifelong servant of its agendas. In the 12 years directly preceding her hiring by the U.S. government, where she became Deputy Chief of Staff to Hillary Clinton, Abedin worked for Abdullah Omar Nassif, one of the principal financiers of Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, and a Muslim Brotherhood eminence. Huma Abedin's mother and brother are Muslim Brotherhood leaders, as was her father before them. In their work for the Brotherhood, the Abedin family was specifically tasked with running Abdullah Omar Nassif's jihad operation, the Institute of Muslim Minority Affairs. The title sounds innocuous enough until you understand that the express goal of the Institute is to transform the Muslim minorities in non-Muslim countries into Muslim majorities as part of the Islamic Jihad, with the express intent of creating Islamic states, in short, to conquer those countries for totalitarian Islam. To accomplish this goal, Muslim minorities must be prevented from assimilating into the non-Muslim societies and also be indoctrinated in Islamic supremacist ideas. That was and is the mission of the Abedin family. In addition to the network of Saudi-funded mosques that target countries like the United States, the chief organizations for accomplishing this goal are the Muslim Students Association, on whose executive board Huma Abedin served, and its offshoot, the Islamic Society of North America, was created out of the MSA, which is now the principal source of advice on Muslim affairs for the Obama administration. In other words, at the right hand of the American Secretary of State and the center of American policy is a woman whose family are leaders of what the Muslim Brotherhood calls its Grand Jihad, its plan to infiltrate non-Muslim societies and, quote, destroy the Western civilization from within, in those exact words. And what people do these jihadists regard as the chief obstacle to their sinister design? The Jews. In the words of their own manifesto, the greatest challenge that faces Muslims in America and Canada are the Jews, who take advantage of their material ability and their money and their media to distort the image of Islam and Muslims, thereby spreading lies in the minds of the people of these countries. The Jews also serve Zionist interests in the Arab regions. In the hands of the Islamists and their allies, Zionism has become the name of all the opponents of Islamist supremacy and its holy war against infidels, against Jews and Christians Israel and the United States. Americans and Israelis, Jews and Christians have their backs to the same wall. One cannot be defended without defending the other. Supporters of freedom are all Zionists now. And that includes myself. That is the way this war of the civilizations, or as I prefer it, this war between Islamist barbarism and civilization, will continue until it is finally concluded and the next conflict begins. I say this because as a conservative I understand that conflicts are endless and these battles are without end. To be a conservative is first to understand that there is no solution to the dilemmas of the human condition. Second, it is to understand that to escape these dilemmas, human beings will inevitably embark on desperate quests for redemption in this life. These redemptions in turn will require holy wars to purge the world of demons, of those who do not share their faith and who stand in their way. In this regard, totalitarian Islam is really no different in its heart from totalitarian socialism or progressivism, even though the latter are secular and the former is pursued in the name of a vengeful and malignant God. Both seek to cleanse mankind of its irreparable imperfections. To remain free beings, we are continually forced to defend ourselves and our breathing space against the efforts of the Redeemers to perfect us, against the armies of the saints who are determined to make the world a better place than it can ever be. That is how I see the political wars we face and why they will never end. On a personal level, and to answer the question I raised at the beginning of this talk about my identity, I am comfortable being a diaspora Jew, both in this present struggle with the enemies of America and Israel and beyond. Diaspora is the name of our Jewish exile, but exile is also the name of our human condition. We are thrust into this life and remain here for a while, and then we are gone. If there is a home for us that is truly permanent, it is not of this time or of this place. My country, America, and the country of my people, Israel, share a common destiny. They are the gathering places of exiles, of those who understand better than others that we have no permanent abode in this world. It is because of this that we cherish the freedoms and the homes we do have, and we are not afraid to fight for them. Thank you.